Today's guest is Vladimir Petroci from Slovakia. After interviewing around 150 homeopaths on this podcast, it's needless to say that my mind has expanded beyond what I ever thought possible in such a short period of time. And today's episode is no exception. I didn't think it was possible to get any more excited about homeopathy than I already am. But Vladimir has taken things to the next level with his creation of the Quintessence Forum, which we'll be speaking about today. Vladimir has been teaching homeopathy since the late 1990s, and in 2004 he established the Slovak Academy of Classical Homeopathy with a full 4-year curriculum aiming at modernizing the education of the homeopathic art of treatment. There are 2 branches of the school, one in Slovakia and one in Poland, and Vladimir is also the president of the Slovak Chamber of Homeopaths. So Quintessence Forum is offering free symposiums dedicated to updating the vision of reality from the point of view of practicing homeopaths. Quintessence Forum now has over 1,700 followers, mostly homeopaths, but everyone is welcome. You can visit the Quintessence Forum at quintessenceforum.com or join the Facebook group with the same name, Quintessence Forum. You can also visit Vladimir's homeopathic school at academyhomeopathy.sk. I'll spell it for you, AKADEMIAHOMEOPATIE.sk. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you on the Quintessence Forum. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we get to speak with Vladimir Petroci. Did I say that right this time?
Yes, it was nice.
It's lovely to have you on the show, Vladimir.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Eugenia.
It's such a pleasure. I was said before, I love the way you pronounce my name. It's gorgeous. So you are from Slovakia, and I have got this lovely Slovak friend that I met many years ago, and he told me that there's this funny thing that you can say in Slovak that translates to stick your finger through your neck. So you're going to have to entertain our audience and tell them how you say that in Slovak. Pretty please.
Yes, okay. It is strč prst skrz krk.
It's such a cool language. Amazing. So, Vladimir, can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you were first introduced to homeopathy? How did you discover it?
During my studies of medical faculty, I already started to be very interested in alternative medicine. And I started to do acupuncture in these early years. The first seminar we had about homeopathy in 1991 in Slovakia, I attended, I took a part, and I fell in love with this method of healing. And then I devoted my life to homeopathy. It was like love in first glance. Mm-hmm. And since that time, more than 31 years, I'm practicing it. First part-time, when I was still working in a hospital. And then since 2002, after the death of my father, when I realized there is not much time to do fully what we should. So I left the official medicine and I started to practice fully homeopathy. And what I was amazed was the efficiency of this method, that we can fully cure people who are considered as incurable in medicine, because we have many diagnoses called chronic illness, and it means we cannot cure it. We are helpless. I've seen these patients. We worked mostly in sanatorium in High Tatras. We worked mostly in branch of or with asthma patients, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, asthma, allergies, and I've seen that they are constantly ill. They are helped. The situation is a bit better after suppression of symptoms, but they are not cured. And after homeopathy, I witnessed real cures, like for 10 years, 15 years, no symptoms. And it was a miracle for me. And not only symptoms of the main disease, but also other diseases disappeared. So I've seen more and more in my patients there that it's a method of healing a future. that it's uncomparable. Of course, the classical medicine has its right, and we are very happy we have surgery, but I believe it's a future of medicine. So therefore, I was more and more involved in it, and I started to teach at the end of 90s, and in 2004, I established a school, Slovak Academy of Classical Homeopathy, where I wanted to teach the way how I would be taught as a student, like to find the best ways, the modern ways of teaching. And I would like to thank officially now to my biggest teacher, Jan Scholten, because his method is a backbone of our academy. We have several features, probably a bit distinct to other schools. It is the systematic study of materia medica. I mean, studying remedies according to groups. When we are talking about kalis, we are speaking about all iron seri remedies. Or the first stage, we are speaking about lithium, natrium, kalium, comparing all remedies in a group. Or, for example, pulsatilla, so we are talking about all ranunculaceae. It's more precise, and I believe that it's giving a map to understand better our materia medica and to navigate it more easily. And even we can prescribe the remedies which were unknown till recently. We are very thankful to Jan that not only he discovered the MAPS system in minerals, plants, and now he's discovering also in animals, but that he brought into practice thousands and thousands new remedies. And so our prescription is now very precise and deep. Sorry for
No, that's beautiful, actually.
Talking so long.
It's beautiful. When I interviewed and I was saying to him, I don't know if I should thank him or curse him for all these new remedies that we have at our disposal, because it seems never ending sometime. But I was interested from you, Vladimir, what exactly, because you were a pulmonologist, right? What was it about the lungs that intrigued you? Because obviously in Chinese medicine, it's the organ of grief. So of all the body parts that you could have chosen to specialize in, why the lungs?
It was brought by decision to live in nature, because I felt that I would like to spend my life in more natural environment. And we have high Tatras mountains in Slovakia. It's the highest part of Carpathian range of mountains. It's maybe 2,800 kilometers long range. And the highest part is in Slovakia. It goes from Slovakia up to Romania. And I wanted to be in nature, and we have sanatories in high Tatras for lung diseases. So it was this reason. It was chosen by the decision.
So you've got sanctuaries there, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
We call it sanatories. Like it was already established.
Okay.
It was established already at the end of 19th century, when the people realized that tuberculosis is better in mountains. The novel by Thomas Mann, The Glass Mountain. I don't know exactly the name in English of this book. It's about this kind of sanatory. So there were tuberculosis sanatories in the mountains, in the high Tatras.
Okay. That's very interesting, because I'm very tubercular and my children are as well. And I love Perth, but one of the things that really gets me down is how flat it is here. And I grew up in the mountains in South Africa, and, it's just so beautiful. So my heart is always pulled towards the mountains. So maybe that's that tubercular side of me. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. So that's why the pulmonology, that is very funny.
For Slovaks, it's not so extraordinary, because 2/3 of Slovakia are mountains. It's kind of Switzerland. We are a very small country, about 5 million only, and it's quite small, and the mountains are nearly everywhere. And I couldn't understand well. Deborah Collins once came here, and she wasn't interested very much in historical sites, but she was attracted by these high Tatras. So we spent all the time there. And at that time, I didn't understand well, but she lived a long time in Holland, so I can understand better.
And she lived a bit in New Zealand as well, because she taught at the college that I studied at as well. And I actually just emailed her today, because I've been trying to get her on the show for a little while, but I know she's taking a little bit of time off. So she has said that she will come on eventually. That would be a dream come true for me to get to speak with her as well. Speaking of which, maybe we could just, now that you've brought up Deborah Collins, jump straight into Quintessence and just tell us a little bit about that, because Deborah is obviously in that group with you. Firstly, why the name? And then secondly, what is it?
The Quintessence Forum is a project. We call it movement. And Deborah was the first friend I invited to join me into committee, or we call it core group. And the quintessence is very important in alchemy. It's the fifth essence. And I believe that homeopathy is very deeply connected, has a root in alchemy. It's continuation of the alchemy. The second alchemy, quintessence, is something behind, something like ether, connecting four elements, something we don't see or we neglect, but it's uniting everything. And this term is also used, quintessence is used also in astronomy today, astrophysics, and it's related with dark matter and dark energy. It's something behind, we don't see well. And this notion, there is something behind, we don't perceive, is very common now, is becoming very new idea that is pervasive in science and also in theory, in New Age, in esoterics. We are turning this point to this worldview that there is something more, not only material world. And it is also the main preposition we have in Quintessence Forum, that the essence of the world is consciousness. And the consciousness is the source of material world we see around us. And this forum was established because we would like to facilitate emergence of a new paradigm in the world. It wasn't meant to be only for homeopaths. It was meant to be general, like showing all phenomena not belonging to the old paradigm, old materialistic paradigm. I mean, speak about things like psychedelics and psychotronic phenomena, like reading the mind in distance, or telekinesis, or inedia, breatharianism, levitation, or to be at the same time in two locations, like bilocation, or stigmata, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, astral projection. There are many things in the... And homeopathy, of course.
And aliens.
And aliens, of course, aliens. Yeah, they belong here. I love the idea that aliens, UFO, are in fact spirits of medieval time. There is quite a good reason for thinking this, that they are not really from universe, but they are just transformed, reshaped spirits and nymphs and gnomes and elves, the small people. So we would like to help evolve and help people to understand that this materialistic paradigm should be updated. We should see the world differently, and this way, first to save the world, because with the old way of thinking, where the egoism and power are important values, and money, we cannot save this planet. And the second, we could help also to homeopathy to be accepted, because homeopathy will be never accepted. I was a lot involved in discussions with officials, with skeptics, with scientists, and I've seen that there is a problem of paradigm, that they cannot accept it. Even I was showing them proofs, like articles. We have more than 4,000 studies, scientific studies, in proving the effectiveness of homeopathy. Still, they are not willing to see it at all. I was showing them and they closed the eyes, like in Bertolt Brecht play, where he shows, look here, these moons are there, and they didn't want to look at the telescope. Galileo was inviting these other people. And I've seen it that without the change of paradigm of the worldview, we will be never accepted. Therefore, we are going a bit from other side.
From an angle.
From the other angle. Yeah. But I think it's only way. And I believe in future of homeopathy and alternative medicine. We see all signs we are going that direction. Even there are up and downs, but finally it has to be accepted fully. And I'm looking forward for these times.
Same here. What do you think has facilitated this conversation? Why do you think this conversation is able to be had now? And I mean, or has this conversation been going on for quite a while and I just haven't been part of it? Or has things been ramping up? You've been in the homeopathic world for 3 decades. Do you think it's now more important than ever, or do you feel it has been brewing for a while?
We are under pressure of the crisis, of the global crisis, and it's not only one crisis. We have 6 extinction of species. We have a nuclear war over our heads. There is global warming, acidification of oceans, and plastic matters in everywhere. So we created a lot of problems, and we cannot solve them. And I believe that people first they are starting to understand we are in that end. We cannot go this way farther. And on the other side, there is a hope. The idealism, that the idea that consciousness is ontologically primordial, brings the hope that we can change things, that it's not necessary to be like that we can find alternatives in this world. So I think that it's from both sides. There is a danger, but also the hope behind.
What on earth does ontological primordial mean?
Ontological means we cannot explain it further.
Okay.
It's like axioma. We cannot explain why. We cannot explain more. It's like explaining the God. In fact,
or the universe or something like that.
Yes, there is a universal consciousness, and we cannot tell much about it. So we say it's so, and it's difficult to go deeper. We cannot discover it better. Of course, there are some tools like Kabbalah or some other esoteric traditions. They can say about it something from the experience of mystics, also in other religions. By the way, we have a tweak, a small part in Quintessence, and we started the School of Kabbalah with Andreas Björndal.
Wow.
So if somebody is interested, people can contact me. And this is the Kabbalah for homeopaths. So also the Quintessence, we had long discussions how to focus Quintessence Forum. If to be only general, or to have a vision from the point of view of homeopaths. And finally, we stayed with the second option. So also Quintessence Forum has traits because we are homeopaths. We have nearly 1,700 followers now, and nearly all of them, 99%, are homeopaths. It's not necessary to stay like this. Everybody is welcomed, also laymen and non-homeopaths. We are open to everybody. But it happened that the core group were homeopaths, so it went this way. And also this School of Kabbalah has traits of homeopathy, and it's aimed for homeopaths.
Amazing.
You would like to understand better the world, the reality.
And I know you've got a Facebook group. I saw that today, but is this a membership that you can sign up through on your website? I've had a look through your website as well. But so can anybody sign up? Do you need to apply? Like, how does that work?
It was a bit esoteric, internal circle until now. So the people would feel safe. We started it like that, but now we are on the verge to decide to open it fully. Until now, we had 10 symposiums in Quintessence Forum. It means we have a meeting for 2.5 hours, and people are talking. It's a discussion or a speech, giving their own experience on topics that are borderline, we can say, on the boundaries of accepted knowledge. And we feel that we should open now. So I will put on our website a way how to apply, how to register. You know, until now we realized that homeopathy had problem probably also because in a tradition of alchemists, we were internally directed, like inwardly. We had closed groups and we didn't show much what we are doing to public. And since 2005, there is a movement against us, very intense. Probably Big Pharma is behind, and they were actively advertising that homeopathy is nonsense. So I think it's time really to open and to speak freely. And also these ideas we have in Quintessence were like, they could be misused. We felt that if we will speak openly with people, and many homeopaths had these experiences, that if we would speak freely about them, it could be turned against us. But I think we don't have what to lose now. I speak about experiences like during the treatment, that some people, it's enough for them to say the name of the remedy. Or at the moment the remedy is declared, the name is told, at that time they feel better. Some people are very sensitive.
I've had that with a client of mine, a Nat Mer client. Yes. I was online. She actually lives close by, but that particular appointment was online, and I said Nat Mer, and she could see her whole body. It was just such a cool experience.
Exactly. Or during provings, we did about 87 provings till now in our school, and we experienced the phenomena not explainable by materialistic worldview. Like some people felt already several days before we gave the remedy, the globule into mouse, they had symptoms, or they felt it in distance. For example, when we did proving of Rosa Damascena, Rose, one lady, she was 100 kilometers far in a car, but she was falling asleep behind in a car. Yeah. So finally she had to turn and return home after 30 kilometers. And never before and after that she had not this experience. And it was the main symptom we had during the proving. Everybody was sleeping, unfortunately, because it was a seminar. So they didn't take much from it because nearly everybody was sleeping. And she felt it 100 kilometers far. And several hours before I even decided for the remedy, what we will do during that weekend. And experiences like this, we had many. So it's obvious it's not what we are doing in homeopathy, these remedies and this treatment doesn't belong to the previous materialistic paradigm. It's something new. And it's completely fitting the new version of reality where everything is connected and in every point is whole and in the whole is one. These are the ideas of the vision we would like to help trying to bring into consciousness of people. And I think if there is a very good, in psychology, there is a good model for understanding the development of worldviews. It's called Spiral Dynamics by Clark Graves and Don Beck. And I love to look at this. Andreas Bjørndal brought into my attention this model.
He's the one that does the School of the Kabbalah for homeopaths?
Yes. Yes, he's a colleague. I would recommend to interview him. He's
I would really love to have him on the show. Please hook me up.
A very good homeopath and very good spiritual teacher. And was much in this spiral dynamics. And I believe that it's a good map to understand where we are and where we could go or where we should go. That I don't want to go in details, but I would like to invite everybody to look at this and see the hope we have. Presently, there are memes like the levels of consciousness. It's ontological for one person, from the childhood until the old age. We can evolve, but also as societies, we can evolve in this vision. Now predominates blue and orange meme, like worldview. And we would like to go more into green, yellow, and turquoise memes. They are emerging now. In green meme are about 10% of people, but yellow and turquoise are together maybe 2% only. And we need to go much in higher I believe that the world will be a much better place if the more people will be in yellow, in green, yellow, and turquoise.
Interesting, because I asked you about the color of your wall earlier, which is just such a beautiful color. You said that's turquoise.
Yes, it's turquoise. I like this color.
Yeah, me too. Turquoise and tealy. Like my logo's also got like a turquoisey type color on top of the navy. I absolutely love that. What does the colors represent? Is that to do with chakras or just to do with the consciousness?
No, they are deliberately chosen. Okay. But it's easy to speak about colors than describe them by name, abstract. It's more easy to remember them.
Okay, gotcha.
All these colors of memes describe a specific worldview.
Okay, gotcha. Amazing. And I saw Angelika Lemke is part of your forum as well.
Yes.
And such a shining beacon of light in the homeopathic world. She's been on the podcast twice. And interestingly, it was only recently when I looked back, I realized one of her episodes was episode 111, which I thought was quite an intuitive number. But it was really interesting because she said she was presenting at a seminar once, and then quite a well-known homeopath really knocked her down afterwards for the way that she's teaching these parents to intuitively prescribe for their children. And I guess is that what you're talking about, kind of keeping that core group kind of just a little bit closed off to start the initial conversation? Because there is attack even in the homeopathic world for these emerging thoughts, not even to speak about when you go out there and, really voice your concerns. But I also feel it's time for us to speak up. I am so sick and tired of the fact that homeopaths across the world, except for obviously places like India or Brazil, we're not actually allowed to say that we can cure people. We're not even allowed to use the word cure. We have to use these little euphemisms to say, oh, yeah, we can help the condition, but we're not treating the condition, we're treating the person. Like you mentioned about chronic disease. I had the most incredible testimonial today. I just quickly have to pull up my phone. I won't use any names because I haven't asked her permission yet, but I know she won't mind. But she just said her daughter was in hospital. She had almost passed because of this heart condition. And I put her in touch with a homeopath who's Dr. Adil, who is a cardiologist, a homeopathic cardiologist. And he has helped this little girl so much that the doctors told her that she would be on the medication for the rest of her life. And it's now only a few months later, and she's off that medication, which they told her she'd be on for the rest of her life. It's just like, why are we not allowed to talk about this? It's absolutely criminal. And it's really hard. I mean, my YouTube ban is finishing next week. I got a 3-month YouTube ban for releasing 2 episodes and putting it up on YouTube, saying that we have remedies that can help with the side effects of shots. And I'm saying the word shots because I don't even want to say vaccination, because then you put it up and then it gets triggered and then you get banned. So I'm just so tired of keeping quiet. We are doing such amazing work around the world to help people, but we're not allowed to talk about it. And then within our own homeopathic community, if we're doing something that's, that's kind of expanding that paradigm, then you get slammed down as well. Like, that needs to change.
Yes, I believe that the homeopaths should change also. I believe that there are still many colleagues who are very traditional. There is this group of Quintessence who are very open, and they understand that we are not dealing with chemical reaction. These remedies are something else. We don't know yet what it is exactly, but it looks more like there is a field or spirit of the source in it. But there are still many colleagues who are very conservative, and they persist in a very old-fashioned way how to do it. And then they don't believe in, for example, in systems even. I don't see a problem with system because we have system in every science, but there are many still in this idea that all remedies are distinct and they have nothing common in group, that we cannot use the group thinking, group analysis. And so we need to change the mind, or to open mind as homeopaths, and we need to help to change mind also audience, public, because it's something like the Christopher Columbus was coming, and this myth. I think it's a myth.
I've heard of that one where they didn't see tell the story, sorry.
That the Indians couldn't see the ships because they had not concept of the ship, but I don't believe it fully.
No, I don't fully believe it, but I can understand.
But
I can imagine how that could exist. Like I can imagine that there's all sorts of things probably around us right now that we're not seeing because it's just not in our paradigm. It's not in our consciousness.
Yes, we can see only what we know exists. And Donald Hoffman has amazing work behind him. He's a scientist, and he says that what we see, it's not the reality. It's just a transformation of the reality, something like a screen in computer. We don't see the internal parts of the computer or how it's done exactly with bits and electrical charges, but we see the screen of the computer or notebook or smartphone. It's enough for us to do some good job, but it's not reality. The reality is deeper. But if we would see the reality as it is, we would be unable to survive. It would be too complicated. I believe that the reality is something like frequencies, which are interconnection of frequencies.
Intertwined.
Intertwined, many like pebbles in a lake. That several pebbles, and they are coming together and they create very complicated shapes. It's too difficult to perceive, but our brain can translate this complicated world into doable version of it.
That absolutely makes sense because if you think of, there's data out there on how many different stimuli we perceive every single day. Like right now, my dogs are lying by my feet sleeping, sighing, my air con's going, like there's some kookaburras. You're on the screen, as something's popped up on my phone. I can feel the wind on my skin. My nose keeps twitching every now and again. There's I'm aware that my pants are a little bit tight. I need to eat less pies. There's all these external stimuli that you can't register them all at the same time. So your brain kind of does have to prioritize what is necessary for your survival right now. And that is to be able to focus on the screen and talk to you, not all the other things. So it has, and I believe that on a larger scale, definitely, I completely agree with you. All these other impulses and things that our brains are like, nah, I'm not even going there. Otherwise I'm going to freak out, lose the plot.
I love the philosopher Bernardo Kastrup. I'm following his teachings and YouTube channel, interviews, and his books. I'm reading his books. I wrote about 11 books until now. And I like the fact that he dared to be idealist in this time of material predominance. He's bringing also the revolution in our vision of the world. I recommend his books and channels. Bernardo Kastrup, and he's gathering the scientists who are in favor of idealism. It is the chain coming from Platon, Plotinus, and Hegel, Fichte, no Kant, not no Kant, but Kant, Immanuel Kant.
Well, if you want to talk about idealists, like Hahnemann was the ultimate idealist, I think.
Yes.
That you could have a safe, effective natural medicine.
And what I like that we can speak in a rational way with philosophers, with scientists on this topic, that Bernardo is able to explain and argue very rationally in favor of idealism. It's not just that I believe, I want, that I feel it in bones, but we can discuss on the level where the present science is. And there are also scientists who are in favor in idealism more and more. And I like also the idea of holographic universe. And it's coming to this point, like Susskind, Hooft, Busso, or Verlinde came to the idea that through understanding of black holes, that the world, in fact, is a holographic, that there is all information about the sphere is on the surface of it. So these two ideas, the consciousness is primordial and the world is holographic, are maybe two main features of this new paradigm. So there are, when I started this journey, when I discovered the world, a book, Biocentrism, by Robert Lanza, And then I found there are many, many sources in philosophical, in science for laymen, like Lynn McTaggart is writing, like Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe, this kind of books, or Erwin Laszlo, all his collection of books, or Mark Gobert, that there are in reality, there are hundreds and hundreds sources, and this tide already started of the new vision of the reality. If we stay in our shells and don't look outside, we can feel that it's a desperate, that we are isolated, but it's a myth. The people are not, in fact, our nature is not to be alone in this world. The community life is in reality what we are planned for. It's this green meme that we should be together and help each other, not to live our own lives and to believe that others are enemies, inversely. And we should understand that we are part of the big whole of the universe, and the universe likes us and needs us, that we are not a forgotten sand grain somewhere in the border of universe, but we are very central for the universal consciousness. We can call it also the God. That we are very essential because we are helping to mirror him. The God would like to know himself. He needs us to reflect himself or herself or itself. We don't know the proper gender, probably none. So we have a very important role in this world, and we should be aware of it.
Holy moly. This ties in very nicely with chatting with David Mundy a little bit later on today about the mirror and the magnet and how we draw these things to like everything we see. So I think this is to set me up perfectly for my interview later on. But Vladimir, you have mentioned a whole bunch of very interesting books and people. Can I please ask you if you can, after the interview, just write down some of the names that you've mentioned? I caught a couple like Bernardo, and you said biocentrism and a few other things. But if you can make us like a little list for anyone who wants to go do some reading, or maybe, if you just email it to me, I could put it in our Homeopathy Hangout podcast Facebook group, where we have a lot of members who listen to the podcast who have questions after the show, and we can post it in there. For those that, because I know people are going to be emailing me asking what on earth did he just talk about. I wonder if maybe
I can make this summary, some very good sources, but I can send you even the presentation we did. It was the 8th symposium. There was a trial to create already some first steps in this description of this new paradigm, and there is 100 slides of presentation.
Wow.
If you would like, you can share it with your listeners.
That'll be amazing. We'll post that in the Facebook group. I'm sure people are absolutely going to love that.
They can download.
Vladimir, I wonder if you can maybe just sum it all up for us. You've just like completely blown our minds. How do you, with all that in mind that you've just said, how do you see the future of homeopathy? Like if we can embrace this new paradigm, where do you see the future of homeopathy going?
I think it will be gradually accepted more and more, and finally it will become probably the main stream of the medical treatment. Of course, I believe that we will keep the surgery, and I believe it will be modified. The future of medicine will be a bit different. Of course, it doesn't go so quickly, but the first symptoms I've already mentioned. In last years, I don't see so much attacks from the side of skeptics as it was in past. I don't know how it is in your countries, but here where we live, I'm in Central Europe, like Slovakia. I move between Slovakia, Poland, and Czech Republic mostly. So we don't see these attacks anymore so violent as it was, and it used to be. And I think it's the first sign something is changing. And many people are asking for homeopathy. They understand that the classical medicine is not so efficient as it seemed. And they are looking for alternatives. So my vision of the future is pinky.
Rose-colored.
Rose-colored is
not without the sleepiness.
I see that it will change. And we should prepare for it, to be well educated, because there are new ways how to prescribe. But I think the one should have inside the knowledge that we can open the book and prescribe the remedy, but we should know if this remedy is making a sense. I think that the intuition works best if there is a knowledge behind. The combination, I'm always for combination of the brain and heart, also in personal life, in understanding the life in general. We cannot be only in one pole, in one polarity. We should combine both. There is a brain and heart, there are nerve cells, and there are many proofs that there are memories, real memories, life memories in the heart, and the heart can think, but also we have a brain. So we have two brains. In fact, some people say we have even three brains. One is also in the abdomen, in guts. So we should combine everything and to be united whole. And this is the direction where we are going, to feel the wholeness, and in this whole, to keep the specificity. We are going two directions, evolution and involution, like into whole, but also to be more specified, to be more individual ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I'm just thinking anybody that's studying at the Slovak Academy of Classical Homeopathy must just really enjoy their studies with you, because I'm sure there's some interesting conversations that come up there. Thank you so much for your time today, Vladimir. I'll post the details of the college in the notes and the Quintessence. And I hope people come and join us in our Facebook group. So, yeah, they can ask some more questions about today's episode, because it's a very fascinating future. And I think if you want to talk about idealism, that's that picture that you've created. That's what I'm going to be striving for sure.
Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure.